Celebrate me home, celebrate me there, celebrate me in that land of wonder where nothing can compare. Celebrate me in that place, celebrate me saved by grace. Don't just sit and weep because I'm gone. Celebrate me home. I have spent most of my life on earth preparing to take the trip from here to heaven's throne. With the shield and word of God to guide me, it's a comfort knowing I am not alone. So when I take my final fleeting breath and fade into the gentle sleep of death, celebrate me home, celebrate me there, celebrate me in that land of wonder where nothing can compare. Celebrate me in that place, celebrate me saved by grace. Don't just sit and weep because I'm gone. Celebrate me home. No more broken dreams, no more tears to cry. Into my Father's arms I'll fly. Celebrate me home, celebrate me there, celebrate me in that land of wonder where nothing can compare. Celebrate me in that place, celebrate me saved by grace. Don't just sit and weep because I'm gone. Celebrate me home. Celebrate me home.
Wow, that's a good song, isn't it? That's what we're here to do today, celebrate Bobby Home, to celebrate the life that he's lived. And that's what this is, it's a celebration of life. And we're so glad that you're here. We're honored. This family is pleased that you're here, and we welcome you today. And hope you make yourself at home for the next few minutes. And we're just going to share. I met Bobby a long time ago, really longer than we was thinking, longer than the church has been here. We were doing gospel music together, and he was playing the drums for the songsmen. Probably nobody in here knows who the songsmen are. Anybody? Yeah, okay, Marion does. He was a little boy, though, when that was going on. But some of you know, Pat, you guys know, don't you? But that's where we really made connection. And then he played drums for them. And then he came, and I came to Sunset. He played drums for me there. And he came over here and played drums, and Marion did too. And got to really know this family in a great way. Just a couple of things to mention to you. I did get to fly in his plane a couple of times. I want to tell you one quick story. He said, come fly with me. Danny Broadhurst asked me to fly. Why is everybody laughing? I never did get in that plane because people warned me. Why are y'all shaking your heads like that? Yeah, I know my buddy too. But they were big buddies. But Bobby, I made him pray, and I made him promise that we wouldn't do anything silly, because I get motion sickness anyway. He said, we'll take it easy. But he took us over our farm over in Appleton County and came back through the Surrency backwoods, and it was during deer hunting season. And that's when it wasn't legal to hunt over corn. So you know exactly what we did. He said, I want to show you something. And we went down low as you could go to those pine trees, and I've never seen so many guys bail out of trees, run to their trucks, and head out of the woods, thinking that somebody was after them, or the law or the game warden, whoever it was. But that was the funniest thing. He said, let's make one more trip unless there's anybody left in there. But I don't think there were. That was a great flight. I remember a couple of other things I'll mention because I know these guys are going to tell some good stories and share with you in a few moments. But I remember our pressure washing business that we had, Bobby and Marion and Christy and all of us, but he'd bring that pressure washer. But the last time, I think it was the last time we did pressure washing on the parking lot, there was a lot of water there. So I don't know if Marion thought of it or Bobby thought of it, but Christy may have thought they went and got the airboat. And that's how we drive the parking lot off. Crank that airboat up and blowing. People were coming by saying, what are they doing out there on an airboat in the middle of the parking lot? But it was a good story to tell, and we enjoyed it. And also, if there was ever anything that I needed, or the church needed, or his friends needed, Bobby was there. Yeah, he was a guy with a lot of fun, and we enjoyed our times together. And I'm thankful today to be a part of this. I'm going to do one thing, and I'm going to sing a song that was his favorite song. And I think it's the only one the funeral home thinks I know. It's really not. Miss Linda is my greatest fan. I'm glad that she is, besides my wife. But the other one would be Bobby Surrency. And he wanted this song sung. As a matter of fact, Christy, I think the last time he was in service, I'm going to try to get through this. Last time he was in service, I think this is the last time I sung this song. Listen to the words. It'll bring great strength to you. God is good. Oh, you know that. God is good. Listen to the words of the song through the fire. So many times, through circumstances, things I could not understand. Many times in trials, weakness blurs my vision. Then I am reminded, never been forsaken, never had to stand one test alone. But as I look at all the victories, Spirit rises up in me. Through the fire, my weakness is made strong. honor and my privilege today to also introduce to you a young lady that's a granddaughter and a special lady. She's going to come and share some remarks with you. Would you welcome Lilybeth Day today?
Testing. That's what my Baba did. I'm not sure how I really got, dang, there's a lot of people, which is good because it shows just how many people, knew my Baba and got to love him like we did, and more than likely, if you even knew him, he drug you into something. And if you're like us, some stuff you didn't know how you were going to get done with it or get through what he drug you into. I could tell a lot of stories that would possibly get us in trouble because my sweet mom and my mom are here and there's law enforcement here. But I could also tell you a bunch of good stories about him too. And, I grew up with him running all the dogs and hearing about the airplanes and having no fear. And one of my favorite stories to tell is I went on a bunch of dog runs from the time I was 4 years old. Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, my Bobo got the FLIR system, I guess you could say X-ray, the heat, looking through and finding people in the dark. And a little boy went missing in Magic Springs, and we went out there for 3 days looking for this boy. And I remember Bob, he wasn't even running it. He told me to run it because if I went with him, he tried to let me take the dog a couple times through, but my mom and daddy would not have that. Chasing criminals, so it wasn't going to happen this time either. And I remember we were sitting out there, it was on a Sunday night when we found him. Well, that Saturday night, I said, Bob, I think I just seen him on the FLIR system. Well, the man had done walked through or whatever, and we couldn't find him again. And we called people down there, and I was like, no, I don't think that was him. And I remember when we found we had just pulled up, everybody went to one side of the property, one side of the area we were at, I don't remember. And he said, I want you to sit right here, and you look through this, and I guarantee you he's going to come walking up through this yard in just a minute. Well, it was dark, and about that time, I was looking through it, and I said, Bob, there's somebody sitting right there walking through the yard. And sure enough, it was that boy we were looking for. And Bob goes, it dang sure is. And he gets on, he's fumbling around, he's so excited. He's fumbling around with Mr. Chuck knows what I'm talking about. Unit 61, this is Bobby. He said, we found him. Here comes just a whole line of people coming through here. And he's just walking around, he's just a smiling. That was one of the many things he loved to do. And it was cool. It was something I won't never forget. And the last dog run he took me on was about September, maybe the summer. And I remember, and I'm not like most teenagers, I like to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So we were out there, I was like, I want to go with you, Bobo. He's like, all right, come on, we're down here at the church in Gardau. We got out there, and it rolls around to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, they're looking for a lady. And I said, Bobo, I'm tired. He's like, well, you can go on home. Bye. And he's like, and he stayed out there I believe it was all night, wasn't it, until the next morning. And I come home, and he's like, yeah, well, we found her. You went home. And he stayed out there, and he never let the dog run until something was over. He never left anywhere he was at till it was over. My ball games, anywhere you ever found him, you saw him. He was always there. He was happy to be there, and he was smiling. And to see all these people, it's like my sweet mama said the whole time. He was loved. He has loved and been loved. And it's just a real blessing just to have all of you here supporting us and my family and our friends. It means a whole lot to us because this is definitely a difficult time, the most difficult time we've probably ever seen. But the good Lord will get us through it like he gets everybody through everything else. That's right. And he is no longer suffering, which is something to be thankful for, that it has not lasted months and he sat there and suffered. So he fought it for a long time, and that old heart of his was just time to go. And I'm thankful that Jesus called him home the way he did, and it was peaceful, and we were there to see it. So on behalf of my family and our friends, we thank each and every one of you who sent something, called, come to the house, brought food. I can't even name all of it, and I don't want to start giving names because I'll miss somebody. So, like I said, we appreciate it. And just because Bob's not under that old hanger, don't mean none of you can't stop by, because somebody will probably be out there now, for sure. So, like I said, we thank you and we love y'all, and thank you for coming.
Wow, nobody can tell it like family and friends. Amen. Got a friend coming to share some stories with you. Brother Danny Broadhurst, would you come on and share?
really don't need this microphone. I'm pretty loud. This man right here is a legend. He's a legend and I'm a legend. Only thing wrong, Bobby's a dead legend now and I'm still a live legend. I tell you, Bobby he never called me by my name. It was always Brothers. Brothers, Brothers. I heard that all my life. And I called him Bobby, you know what I mean? I called him, Brothers, what we're going to do now here right now? Brothers, let's ride. That'd be the first thing to say. Let's go out to the airport. Me and him flew airplanes together. We had a gospel group together. We've done everything in the world together. They just ain't nothing that me and Bobby Surrency didn't do, you know what I mean? We was kind of brave people. Me and him was really brave. But I tell you, old Bob, he got trouble with his teeth. And they kept giving him a lot of trouble, you know, sir. He got them teeth all pulled out. Went to the doctor. He pulled them out over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. Well, Bob was spraying then. He was flying airplane. And he had to go to Atlanta to get his license renewed for his spray applications, you know. So they had to go to a little school there. It was about 2 days school. So he went to the dentist over in Baxter, and the dentist was fixing his teeth. He had his teeth all fixed up. And Bob was going to get him some of them snap-in teeth, you know. So he went over and he got those teeth. And he got them all fitted that day. And Bobby had to go the next morning. He was going to go to Atlanta. He said, I need my teeth. And that fellow said, well, if you meet me over here about 6 o'clock in the morning, said, we'll fit them teeth. Said, all I got to do is fit them. They already put the little studs in his mouth, you know. So old Bobby, he went over there and he got them teeth. And they popped them in, you know. They're pretty hard to pop in, you know, but it wouldn't fall out. So he got them teeth. He went on to Atlanta. But all the way down there, he would take that mirror on the truck and turn around and look at it. He said he looked just like Burt Reynolds when he got there. Told me, he said, Brother, said, I look, he said, I look just like Burt Reynolds. He said, I said, you did? You did, Bob? He said, yes. And I got up there and he said, I wore them things all day long. He said, and they didn't bother me. He said, my gums got to get a little sore. He said, spent the night in the motel. He said, next morning, he said, I got up. And he said, I went to put them things in. He said, get ready to go, you know. He said, I got a minute. He said, I couldn't put them in. He said, I tried to press them. He said, water ran out my eyes. It hurt so bad, I couldn't press them in. He said, the gums were so sore. He said, I just pulled them in my mouth, you know. He said, I went on. He said, I got up there in the line. He said, them things was killing me. He said, they went through that class. He said, lunchtime come. He said, you know, everybody liked Bob. You know what I mean? He just time you saw him. You know what I mean? In a few minutes, he's just one of them kind of people that you just love. Yeah. Them old boys took a good liking to him. And they said, come on, Bob. Said, we're going to go down and take you to a sushi restaurant. One of them uptown restaurants down in Atlanta. Said, one of them big restaurants. Bobby, he never did like that, but a hamburger anyhow, you know what I mean? So we're going to get you a Philly line, you know, and not one of them steaks, you know what I mean? So we got ready, everybody got over, you know. Come in and sat down there, and the waitress come in and told her everybody wanted. Bob said, I'll take one more big juicy hamburger. He told him, and they looked at it and said, you just going to get a hamburger? He said, yeah. He said, I'm just going to get me a hamburger. He said, that's all I want. They brought that hamburger to him. They just said the blessing. He got ready to eat. Said, old Bob said, them teeth will give him a fix it. He reached up and he said, got that ketchup and mustard and put on that thing. They're all smoothed out just like he wanted it. He said, everybody else cut that mistake. He said, he got that old big hamburger up. He said, cut down on that thing. He said, when he pulled that hamburger out of his mouth, he said, them teeth. He said, everybody in the restaurant said, napkin, you laid them over his leg. Then people were getting up and going out of there like, so, oh, Bob, he told me about it. He might have laughed a lot like to die. He said, bro, there wasn't nothing else to do. He said, I went ahead and gummed that hamburger over that. I said, I already did. Y'all you just never would know what Bobby was gonna do. He'd look at you with them little beady eyes, you know what I mean? He'd look at you and say, "What is it, Bob?" He said, "Broad Earth." He said, "Let's ride." We'd go somewhere. We'd go all through these countries. He'd take me to these little places where I'd never been before in my life, in a little town, and show me and tell me. He loved to do that. You know, old stuff, he loved old stuff. Oh, he's not more loved ever. He'd take me and show me and tell me something. He loved the airplane better than anything in the world. He said, Brother said, "I want to fly." He said, "I want to be a crop duster pilot." He said, he always thought old Theory Fennel was rather a legend to him. You know, so he said, I'm going to get me a crop duster airplane one day. So, gonna have to blame all this on Bearwood Miller, because we took flying lessons under him. And I know we was his best students. I know we were. I mean, we'd go out and get over there with his airplane, and we'd crop dust with him, whatever else, you know. We loved airplanes. So Bob said, he said, "I'm going to get me an airplane." So went on and he met this old boy. His name was Billy Nash. And he had the crop dusting airplane. Bobby got like him good enough. And old Nash couldn't never keep that airplane flying. He'd always tearing it up, crashing it. So they called him Crash Nash. You know, I mean, he'd tore up all the time. So he went down to Florida, and he come back over, went over to see old Nash and said, "Look here," said, "I got this little airplane," said, "I bought down here in Florida." He said, and I said, he said, "I can't fly it." He said, I'm gonna let you take it over and fly it." Well, it was Christmas. It was the same time this year, and it was about 40 years ago. I won't never forget it. And it come one of them freezes, and we was all off at Rainier for Christmas with all a week. Yeah, they shut the mill down. They shut it down for a week. And we was off, and it was Christmas Eve. The day before Christmas Eve. And it come on one of the hardest freezes there ever was in this part of the country. The ground out there was it rained, the ground all out there was spewed up with ice sticking up out of the ground. And Bobby called me that morning, the day before Christmas Eve. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He said, "Brother!" I said, "What? Come on out to the house." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I got me an airplane." I said, "You got your airplane?" He said, "Yeah, boy." I couldn't stand it. I said, I'll be out in a little while. So we had an old buddy named Rick Campo. I stopped by Rick and I said, "I'm going out to Bobby's." I said, "He knew Bobby good." He said, "I'm going out to Bobby's." He said, "We're going to look at this airplane." I said, "He bought him an airplane." Well, he didn't tell me nothing about it, you know. I was just looking for an airplane. So we drove up there, and Bobby had a trailer right where his house is now. And they were getting ready for Christmas. Everybody was getting ready for Christmas. We drove up there, and it looked like the Wright brothers had landed out there, you know. This thing, I don't know what it was. It didn't have a wheel on it, but it was. And I walked up there and looked at it, and it was, he had it tied down with concrete blocks. The wind was kind of blowing that morning, and it was cold and rainy, damp like it is out there. I looked at that thing and said, "Well, what is it?" He said, I said, "Ultralight." I said, "Ultralight." He said, "Yeah." He said, and it had a little chainsaw motor on the back of it, a little propeller about that long. Sitting up on top of it. Didn't have no wheels on it. Picked this thing up. And when you got it running, you had a crank run down there. And it had a handlebar, and it had a motorcycle car on it, like just turning it down like that. And you had to run with it, you know what I mean? You run across the field with it. Well, his daddy had a cabbage patch out in front of the house. There wasn't no airport out there. And there was a little damn road down through the middle of the cabbage patch. He said, "Brother," said, "you've got to help me get this thing fixed up." He said, "Get it going." He said, "I don't know how to hook all this stuff up." He always got me involved in something like that. He gave me the instructions, and I was looking at the instructions, and he said, I was trying to get it all put together. And it had a little boatsy chair you hung in at the bottom of it. And you had to run with it, and you strapped around your legs, hooked around your legs, and you had a rope hanging out, a cable hanging out, and it had a little thing on the side here and a little thing on the side, and that had a rope tied to it, and it worked the rudder. When you done this, the rudder. I said, "Bob, you know how to fly this thing?" He said, "Yes, I can fly." I said, "Bob," I said, "that thing a key." He said, "No, man." He said, brother, check it out. And he cranked it up. And he said, wing, cranked it up. That thing was blowing grass everywhere out there. And I said, Lord. And he put too much oil in it. And you couldn't hardly see it before he cranked it up. 2-cycle motor. And he got it fired up and showed me how to run. He said, check it out, brother. Help me get it going. I said, all right. So I got the instructions now, and I was looking at it. And it showed me how to do this and do that. And it said, down at the bottom, had a big old caution. You know, the yellow mark, the line across the back. It said, caution. Do not attempt to fly this aircraft no further than you like to fly. Did you read that? He said, yeah, I read it. I said, you come here, let me read it to you again. He said, I don't read that thing. He said, they got to put that on, got to protect them. I said, people getting sued. He said, it'll fly. I said, well, Christy come out. We done got it running, you know, and she come out and looked at that thing and she said, y'all better put that thing up, so y'all gonna get killed with that thing, you know, and she didn't say that. Well, she got worried about it. Well, she gave Bobby a brand new pair of cowboy boots and gave it to him early for Christmas. And it was them ostrich hide ones. I'll never forget them long as I live. And he walked around there and get that dirt on him. He'd brush that dirt off and look at it. And he loved them little jackets that the aviation used to fly, you know, military jackets, the little zip-up jackets. And he had him one of them. And he loved them sunglasses, aviation sunglasses. It had a little wire on them around their ears. You know, when he put them on his ears. And he put them on. He got everything together. He said, we had to tote that thing all the way down to the end of that cabbage patch. And we got down there and we fired that thing up. And he said, now, brothers, we cranked it up and he got it up. He had to hold it up, you know. Got it up. And he said, you got to hold the tail. He said, you got to run along with me and hold that tail up like Eddie Gore. He said, you're going to be the tail holder. I said, I'm going to be the tail holder. He said, yeah. I said, okay, I guess I can do that. So we got out there and old Bob. He got that thing fired up. There wasn't nobody but me and him and Rick Campo out there. Rick tried to get me to stop by and get his camera where he could take some pictures, you know, movie camera, make the movie. I said, when you got time? That's where I made my fatal mistake. I'd have been a multi-millionaire if I'd lost that with that camera. But he got out there and we got in that, and the wind was blowing this way. And he was going to go this way. Now that cabbage patch. Dad had them old cabbage planted, them old purple cabbages all over that field like that. That little damn road down there. He said, we're going to fly right out toward Dad's house. I said, okay. So I got back there and he cranked that thing up. And when I standing back behind that thing, holding the tail up, and it was cold, I'm telling you, it was cold, and that ground was hard. And old Bob got it all strapped up, and he fired up and got it up. And sat back when he'd have to put his feet, had to take his cowboy boots in the dirt, hold it like that. He'd run it up and make sure it was going to run right. About to blow me away back there, you know, about to he started to run, and when he got ready to go, he gave her the gas and started running. Well, it's hard to run 35 miles an hour. You know? That thing took off about 35 miles an hour. You know? Me trying to run behind holding the tail. That thing, it went down through that field. You know, when he got up, it made a turn like that. Old Bob was still running. It's hard to put your feet on it. You know? Put your feet up over hard. When you want to go up, you just lean back. It didn't have to go up and down. When you lean back, the thing would go up. When it did never lean back, it just went straight up. It went around and started the wing out. It started cutting them cabbage off. Cut them off this way, and rolled back this way, cut them off that way. It didn't hurt everything. We got her back. Let's try her again. When he got up, here's how enough to go around the edge of the trees there where people could see. They thought we saw the wood over there because it was a cold. They heard it running. They said, that boy got him a chainsaw over there. They saw that wood. Well, when they seen it go by, in just a few minutes, it looked like a football game on Friday night. Them big was everywhere around there. Some black guy that picked beans and stuff and helped his daddy around there. He lived right over there. He come back over. He said, hey, Bob. He said, what? I didn't know you could fly. He said, oh, Bob, yeah, I've been flying for a pretty good while. Thank you, Darwood. said, he told him all about it. He said, yes, I'm going to fly this. Everybody was standing there looking. About that time, Christy come up. She was getting ready for that last Christmas shopping, you know what I mean? And she had on her makeup, price shadow, and everything, all of her shoes and all that good stuff. And she come out and she said, now, Dr. Surrency, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't put that thing up to you, you're going to look funny in the hospital up there on Christmas Day. Now, you need to put that thing yeah. She said she went back in the house. Well, he fired her up again. He got that thing in the house, I'm going to be tell over again. I got that thing up my over that table. He freezed me to death. Everybody was gathered around watch that thing. He took off. And he ran like a turtle. You know, he'd go this way and go that way. And I'm telling you, that thing was 35 miles an hour. He was still running. And I said, I believe that! He leaned back and I said, yeah! And it scared me. You know what I could see. That thing going this way. And it said, meow! It went over his daddy's house and the pecan tree in the yard. Well, that thing went over the pecan tree, and Bobby was hanging under it, and he went through the pecan tree. Some of the toes and all still up there in that tree. And it went down, and his dad had a hog pen out here in the back. And you just guess what? That thing landed right in the middle of that hog pen. Blam! 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 It's still running. He had a little blue truck. I jumped in that truck. And they had plowed up that field and it froze. And they had them big humps in it. And I went across them this way. I couldn't run fast enough to get it. When I got down there, first he was already there. He had a football helmet. He didn't have a helmet, but he had a football helmet. He had a bar and all that. When he went down hog pen, and I jumped over the fence and went over that thing was running, and I snatched all the wires out of it, got it shut off. And I looked, and first thing I seen was them cowboy boots. One of them was turned this way. Well, he broke his tore his legs off. I mean, I was looking at the back of him, and then he turned the other way. I reached down to get him. I pulled that thing off of him and drug it over to one side over there. And he had that football helmet on, and it had just scooped all that hog dirt up. All in his face. And when I brushed him out, he had them glasses on and things stuck over his head. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. And he said, oh! I said, I finally got it off of him, and I said, what about it, Bob? I said, get in the truck. I said, I take you to the hospital. I know your leg was broke. Yeah, he got up. He said, yeah, get the truck. I said, come on. He said, no. I said, get this thing, put it on. He said, I'm taking it back to Billy Nash before I get killed. But now, I'm going to tell you something. If you went off with him, you couldn't help but laugh. They just wasn't no way. Joe will tell you. Derwood will tell you. I'm telling you. Old Derwood, he said, we'd go out and get Derwood's airplane. I'm glad Derwood had good insurance on it. We'd get that thing and we'd crop dust, so that thing we learned how to crop dust in Derwood's airplane. Derwood was he was a kind of patient fellow. He always didn't want to fly his airplane a whole lot. So, now, me and Bobby had some time. But we never did get no real trouble with nothing. We knew how far we could go. Just like everybody else. You know, when you're young, you do things you ain't supposed to do. Sometimes you do things you're sorry you done, you know what I mean? So, but after he got to flying the dusters and stuff, he got where he could really fly airplane. Bob did. He flew some of the finest airplanes they ever made in the world, you know what I mean, when it crop dusted. And he was my best friend I ever had. And probably Joey's best friend. And probably Derwood. I'm telling you. There just wasn't nobody like Bobby Surrency. Never will be, and as long as I ever live. And I probably won't never be able to tell these stories no more, you know what I mean, about Bobby. But I got a bunch of stories I can tell you about him. But it's hard to tell them now. But let me tell you what, the story he said. I called Christy the other day, she told me. She said, Bobby, I asked her, how's Bobby doing this morning? She said, well, he told me to go get the Bible. And he went and got the Bible. She said, I went and got the Bible. I know you people, y'all been off somewhere when you go into some place you really don't know how to get there, and you get on the wrong road, you know what I mean? You get, and you say, well, I need to get my road map out and check it. Well, Bobby told her to go get the Bible, and she went and got the Bible. And Bobby what he was doing, he was looking at the road map. He was wanting to go to heaven. He told her he was dying, and he wanted to go to heaven. And he wanted, so she got the road map, and he was just checking that he was on the right road. Now Bobby's saved, and he's going to go to heaven, and he's in heaven now. And just like my Uncle Collins said, told me the other morning when he called, he said, well, Bobby's gone, what Richie already told me. And he said, Uncle Collins told me this is what Don said. He said, if the good Lord would let Bobby come back now, he said he wouldn't come back, because he's up there with all that gold and all that beauty, and said he's happy and he's there. So you ain't got to worry about Bobby. Got to worry about me. Got to worry about you. And if you don't know the good Lord, there's going to come a time here before long that there ain't going to be no way that you can serve God in this country, because you see what's happening. You see what's happening. The President of the United States has signed us all away to let the gays and whatever else take over. That's wrong. That ain't the way it's supposed to be. God didn't make Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. And just as sure as the sun comes up, the good Lord's going to come back on the cloud. He said he's going to come back on the cloud. And he said, that Gabriel going to bring Gabriel with him. And he said he's going to blow the trumpet. He said, when they blow the trumpet, he said, the dead in Christ shall rise up out of the ground. He will be gone. His body will be gone. He's already there. People say, how do you know? I know because when the rich man died, he lifted up his eyes in heaven. People say, well, that can't be right, but it is right. It's going to happen. And when Jesus comes back, the dead in Christ shall rise, and whatever is here that knows him is still holding on to what they can. They're going to meet him in the air. And then we're going to go to the marriage supper. And then the great tribulation is going to come on this world. You're going to have to take the mark of the beast and all that kind of stuff. There ain't no way you can make it during that time, because there'll be some that will. They'll give up everything they have, their lives and everything else to make it. But that's the only way you can make it. So you better live right now, because he's coming back just as sure as the sun comes up again. He's coming back. So you remember, if you're not living right, and everybody messes up. But the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath without asking you forgiveness. God will forgive you for anything that you've done. And he is coming back, just like I told you. And one day it'll all be over here, and we'll be in heaven. And we can look, and old Bobby will be sitting by the crystal river. He'll be looking up there, and he'll be glad to see it. He'll be glad to see it one day. And I thank y'all for everything you ever done for me. And I thank God for all the things he's done for me. He blessed my family, he blessed me, he blessed my life. And you know, most celebrities in this world get a nice bridge or a road or a building named after them, something nice. Well, me and LaWanda got the dump. So that's just the way it is. And I'm proud that I got the dump ring. You know what I mean? And I appreciate it, Mickey. I'm going to give this thing back to you now. I'll give it to Brother Kelly.
Where do we go now? You know, I stand here with honor today, and I was thinking, I was sick yesterday. My mom had been sick a few days, and I had the bug, but I'm here. But I was thinking, about Bobby's life, and he's that cousin that brought life to our family. Kind of like Brother Danny said, might not have done everything right, but he never robbed a bank, he never shot anybody, he never run over anybody, but he did have fun. That's just who he was. But you know, I was thinking the last little while of his life, how he has suffered and he has been sick. And I'll back up. I'm going to start there first. But I want to say to you that in the midst of all of his sickness, I have never heard him complain. In the midst of all of what he went through, you're going to go try to pray for him and encourage him, and he's going to make you laugh, even if he's in pain. That's just who Bobby Surrency was. And you know, I think about, yes, he did love the airplanes, but there were so many things that he did love. I remember when, I think it was Mr. Carl Curry who was with the forestry unit, and he, you know, he wanted to be around bulldozers. Anything that was moving, anything that was action, he wanted to be around it. You know, the sheriff's department, the fire department, the ambulance, it didn't matter, any of that stuff. He enjoyed it. It was his thrill. And I even remember, and I can't even remember, it's been a few years ago when Bobby had his heart issues and he was down in, was it Daytona, down in that area, Ormond Beach. And so me and my wife had went for that procedure. Brother Mickey and them was there. And I remember being in his room, and he said, I got to go to the restroom, because they were getting ready to take him into the surgery to do a procedure on him with his heart, because he was having some real issues. And he had his little IV pole, and he rolled it into the bathroom. Well, when he come out, he didn't come back to the bed. He opened the door that went out into the hall, and Christy said, Bobby, where are you going? I don't know if she thought he might have got, you know, confused or whatever. He said, I'm going to walk on down to the surgery room and see if they can work me in a little early. That's who he was. I mean, in the midst of you could die, he was over here having fun. That's just who he was. And he said, I'm just going to walk down there and see if they can work me in a little bit early. I was talking to my mom, and she's elderly, and life is zooming by, and I said, it's all right if you don't go. They're not going to hold it against you. And she's been sick some. But she said one of the things that Bobby always come to my house in the evening times, and he would say, Aunt Betty, do you have any homemade biscuits ready? He loved them homemade biscuits. And that was one thing that he loved. And I remember when him and Danny was flying, and they had two planes that they were flying, and the runway was right there at Bobby's house. And in fact, my dad had allowed him to use some land where his runway would be long enough to get those planes out of there. And I remember one time Bobby come in, and he had about 400 and something feet of power lines on the wheels of the airplane. And he said, cuz, that's what he always called me. He said, cuz, he said, because I was loading the planes for him, mixing the spray. He said, cuz, I was out there, and he said, we always circle the fields and check them to, you know, be sure there ain't no power lines. And he said, I didn't see any. He said, I really didn't. He said, and I let that plane down to make a pass, and he said, I'm about middle ways that field, and he said, I seen a bird sitting out in midair. He said, I knew I was in trouble. He said he pulled that plane up, and the wheels caught the power lines. It was over 400 feet of power lines that he brought in with him. And God was with him. And thank God, that he survived that. I remember one time he had a plane, and the starter wouldn't work on it. And so he talked his mama into getting in that plane. And Bobby was going to prop it. They had to pull that prop to crank it. And he said, now, Mama, when this thing cranks, he said, all I want you to do is just pull the throttle down. Well, she when it cranked, she went the wrong way, and that thing was, I'm talking about going out across the field. Bobby's chasing her, and all of a sudden, she looks up and sees the switch and shuts it off. But I mean, his mama's in the airplane. That's the kind of, you know, Jerry Clower had some stuff, and Jerry Clower's stuff was based on true stories. Well, I want to tell you, Bobby Surrency's stories were based on true stuff that happened. It ain't something that we're making up. I was talking to my mom this morning before I come, and Bobby had a horse years ago when he was just a young fella, and that horse, his name was Tonka. And Aunt Katie was up there at my mom's, and my mom was cooking supper. And they looked out the window, and they seen this horse just running at full speed down the road, pulling a barrel. And Aunt Katie said, "Oh, my God, Bobby's in the barrel." And they thought some way or another he'd got in the barrel, but the horse had got away from him. But that was the kind of stuff that happened with him. I'm going to tell one more story, and then I want to share some other things, and we're going to wind this thing up. But my dad, who was a barber here in town, had a guy that shined shoes and swept the floors. Well, he would come out to the fields at our farm and help gather vegetables and all that. And a lot of mornings I could hear Bobby cranking that plane up. I knew he was coming. So anyway, he had went and took a load, and he come back and load up again. Well, I went up there and I told a guy that was my dad's shoe shine man that was out on the field working. I said, "Hey, I got to run do something." I went up and told Bobby, I said, I want you to get after old Jerry. That was his name, Jerry. I want you to get after him when you come. And so I went back there. We nicknamed this guy Duke. I said, "Duke, he's going to get you in a minute." He said, "He ain't going to bother me like that." And Bobby, he come up out of that field, and I seen him. He rolled that plane, and he come down. We was in a watermelon field, and Bobby swooped that thing down, and he got after that boy, and that boy started running. I mean, Bobby was low. He could have hit him with the wheels, and that old boy just dove out on his belly, son. He thought he was caught. But, you know, that was the kind of stuff that took place, and it was just so fun. In fact, this past Friday, he wasn't even hardly responding. And I said, "Bob." He was laying in that bed. I said, "Bob." And he opened his eyes up, and I said, "How you doing?" He said, it was all he could do. He said, "They've took my teeth." And that's when they took his, but that was his life. Do you know what? That's the kind of people I want to be around. That's always just enjoying life. And do you know they say 70-something% of people in America are angry today? And I want to tell you something. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy life. I want to treat somebody right. And that's what life's all about. Bill's memory of Bob, they gave me this, and I want to share this with you. Bob was not a fan of deer meat. He said a deer attacked him one time, and Bill liked to pick at Bobby about eating deer meat because a deer attacked him one time. And then Lauren's memory was helping load the dogs up, and at any hour of night to go and find a missing person or a criminal. And there come a time that Bobby got him an iPhone, and after having a flip phone, he was all excited about it. And he also he got Facebook, and we were afraid that he was going to go live on that Facebook Live. That was kind of the way he was. Anything or any gadget that he could get. I remember, and I'm going to tell this last story, and then I want to share with you just quickly. One story I remember when they were chasing a prisoner, and they'd been after him for a long time, and this guy, it was in the summer, and the mosquitoes was bad, and Bobby took that bloodhound, and they finally found him, and Bobby said, "You should have seen him. He was eat up with mosquitoes. He'd been out there so long." Bobby said, them officers said, "Boy, you're going to tote this dog out tonight." He said, "They made him tote my bloodhound." I was so proud. But that was the kind of stuff that we seen take place. But I just want to share a word with you, and then we're gonna get on out of here. And we're gonna have a song after that. In Romans chapter 8, verse 17, and it says this. I'm going to read out the New Living Translation. And since we are his children, we are his heirs. In fact, together with Christ, we are heirs of God's glory. But we are to share his glory. We must also share in his sufferings. Yet, verse 18, yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory he will reveal to us later. I can say today that that glory has been revealed to Bobby. I can say today that I know for the last few years he has suffered and he has battled and went through it. But in the midst of all of that, I believe he's kept the faith. Brother Danny said it a moment ago after sharing all of his stories. Hey, we didn't start out right. We didn't start the race right. But I can tell you one thing, Bobby Surrency ended in the right way. He took his last flight the other morning. I was sitting in my office on a Sunday morning, and Leslie said, Dad just took his greatest flight. I want to say to you today, no matter what we accumulate in this life, no matter what we accomplish in this life, if you're not where you need to be with God, you better get ready. Because he's coming in a moment when we don't think. So I'm here to tell you, hey, this family today, this is going to be tough. But do you know what? I think Bobby put enough in them to keep going, because I'm going to tell you something. I got as much family up in heaven as I do here. And so that old song says, heaven is sounding better all the time. Amen. Christy, I love you and your family, and just thank you for sharing him. You shared him a lot with a lot of people, whether you wanted to or not. But he just said, I'll be back. And that's who he was. I want to tell you, he's an awesome fella. He'd make you laugh. And thank God he got to come to our little Thanksgiving fellowship on Wednesday. I raised my hands. I said, you made it. And he raised his at my mom's house. And I thank God for that. But I'm going to pray, and then an awesome lady's going to sing an awesome song. He's been faithful. It's going to touch you today. Father God, I love you today. I ask you today to, Lord, to touch us, that we will look at our lives. As Brother Danny said a moment ago, that we'll open up the road map and check ourselves. And God, today, if there be somebody in this house that's not ready to meet you, and they're not serving you, and they're not going to the house of God on a regular basis, God, I pray you touch them today. Because, Father, what really matters is that we know you. We're going to have struggles. We're going to have battles. But Lord, today, the Lord is our refuge, our strength, a very present help in a time of trouble. Amen and amen. Worship with Sister Kathy today.
In my moments of fear, through every pain and every tear, there's a God who's been faithful to me. When my strength was all gone, when my heart had no song, still in love he proved faithful to me. Every word he's promised is true. What I thought was impossible, I've seen my God do. He's been faithful, faithful to me. Looking back, His love and mercy I see. Though in my heart I've questioned, even failed to believe, yet He's been faithful. He's faithful to me. When my heart looked away, the many times I could not pray, still in love He was faithful to me. The days I spent so selfishly, reaching out for what pleased me, even then He was faithful to me. Every time I come back to Him, He is waiting with His arms open wide, and I see once again. He's been faithful, faithful to me. Looking back, His love and mercy I see. Though in my heart I've questioned, even failed to believe, yet He's been faithful. He's faithful. In my heart I have questioned, even failed to believe, yet He's been faithful. He's faithful. In my heart I've questioned, even failed to believe, yet He's been faithful. He's faithful to me. He's been so faithful. He is faithful.